Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Healthcare Innovation Podcast series. Today, I have a special guest, Andrei Doibani. Andrei and I have known each other for a while now. We had a chance to work together on a lot of things. He's somebody who has worked really deeply within the software industry, understands healthcare and life sciences software industry very well. Currently, he leads the life sciences and healthcare business unit at Nagarro. I'll let Andrei introduce himself, the variety of experiences he's had, and then lots of interesting topics to discuss with Andrei. Welcome, Andrei.
Hi, Purav. Thanks. And yes, nice to be here. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, like Purav said, so I'm having a strong engineering background. Actually, I started with my studies, and then I started my career as a software engineer. Worked for quite a bit, doing groundwork, developing software, then getting more and more responsibility in the area of the leading projects, leading technology. But at some point, I moved more into the leadership and organizational development roles. So had the possibility to engage with the customers. And today, as Purav mentioned, I am leading life sciences business unit in Nagarro. And I'm also responsible for the Eastern European service region. But about myself, I was born in Soviet Union. I always say I am a product of Soviet Union. I grew up there, and somewhere at the age of 18, I moved to Romania, where I did my studies, my IT studies. And today I actually work and live in Romania, but my professional journey is quite international. So I started in a small company, beginning of 2000s, that was doing software outsourcing from Eastern Europe to the Western European market. And at that time, we were just a team of 30 people. So for that team, most of us grew with and within the company. And today we are part of Nagarro, which is 11,000 people, worldwide organization with presence in more than 24 countries around the globe. So what I can say is that I feel very privileged to experience the entire journey, first of all, from small boutique company delivering only to Western European market, all the way to being part of such a global organization where today we have customers around the globe. So we have customers in US, in Europe, in Middle East, and even in Japan. My experience with life sciences started in 2005. At that time, I was our first software developer doing a project for a large biotech Swiss company. And it started small, but ever since then, my professional life was entangled with this industry. And I would say that today, as head of life sciences business unit, it's my primarily focus to develop our services, skills, knowledge, experience in Nagarro to serve this industry.
That's great, Andrei. And from whatever I hear in the market, all this comes at a perfect time as well, right? The market is kind of right now hot. There is a lot of investment as well as positive energy into digital transformation. People in life sciences, and I have a similar background, right? So I know they always say that life sciences and healthcare is a few years behind rest of the industry. We are not there, we are slow, but we're moving fast right now. The trend around digital transformation is there and it's really hot. So what's your take on that? I guess you guys are at the right front and center of that. What's your take? How do you see the situation?
Yes, that's a great question. Actually, software is disrupting everything, right? So we see it in all aspects of our life. And probably life sciences traditionally is more a conservative industry, and the digitalization ways that we have seen in other industries. Let's take financial sector, for example, right? So they have a great advances in digitalization of their services. So our banks are already at our homes. On our mobile devices, we do all the operations that 10 years ago, maybe only professional bank service workers were doing. We can do them by ourselves in our private time and at homes. While in life sciences, things still lag behind. However, with this pandemic, while we all suffer and it's not something that we wished to happen, and hopefully it will end soon, it also came with this pressure, especially on life sciences and healthcare industry, to accelerate digitalization. Telemedicine, teleconsultation, need for creating innovative solutions to bring more and more technology and support to people's homes, to limit doctor visits. All that started to accelerate dramatically digitalization and use of already existing technology, right, in life sciences as well. So it's a very exciting time for us, especially the technology providers, and we have made our mission as company, and especially as BU, which focuses on this industry, to bring technology into business, to help this industry to embrace faster technology, to get service closer to people, to make it available to everyone in the world, to see this digital transformation at a faster pace here as well.
That sounds very interesting. So Andrei, based on our past interactions, I know you guys specialize in medical devices. It's an industry which, again, has transformed a lot from what I hear. From your vantage point, from where you sit in this industry, what is the transformation that you have seen? How do you see that changing, and how are you guys responding to those changes?
Yeah, actually, medical devices is one of the most amazing niche in this industry, because traditionally in the past, medical devices was hardware or associated with hardware. Now, of course, every hardware today, or almost every hardware today, has a software component in itself, right? However, in medical device space, we see a trend since a couple of years already. I think it started in 2017, being officially recognized by FDA as well. We have a new thing called medical device as a software, where we have this medical device that has nothing to do with hardware at all. The first example, or one of the first examples that we have seen and witnessed, is application that run on the Apple Watch. Apple Watch being not a medical device as a hardware, but application itself is recognized and qualified as a software medical device, because its intended use it is to participate and process data that would be involved in treatment process. And we have many examples today in 2021. This sector is booming today. We witness a growth of more than 40% of these connected medical devices year over year, and most of them are more and more just software medical devices. And our response to that was that we have created a dedicated practice and a specialization to look into this part, because the biggest challenge there, besides the domain and solution, solving the real business problem, is also the regulatory aspect of it. Because software is much more fluid, flexible, and it crosses the border. It goes very fast global. And then how to combine it with regulatory constraints, it's something which I find, or we find as a team, one of the biggest challenges.
That's interesting you say that, Andre. So, as you talked about hardware converting to software, for a lot of innovators, this democratizes the industry. So, if I'm a small innovator, uh, I would find it very hard to say that I build a device which solves something for a particular disease because there are barriers. Electronics is something which people could shy away from, but software then makes a lot of innovators feel that they can participate more in the industry. Now, from your experience, is that easy or difficult? And if it's difficult, why so? Regulatory is one aspect you mentioned, right? But if you can give some examples, why, what are the things an innovator should watch out for as they think about jumping into medical devices as a software category?
Yes, I think first of all, it's the regulatory aspect. And I think regulatory aspect starts all the way from manufacturing of this piece of software all the way to deploying it. So imagine you have a medical device software that runs on your phone, right? And traditionally, medical devices are built for a specific market because we have different regulations in different regions. So in Europe, we have GDPR because medical device software deals with this sensitive information. In US, we have for a long time already HIPAA. Then India comes with its own response as DISHA. But if a medical device is not a hardware anymore, it's not deployed in a certain physical location, but it runs on your mobile, just imagine what happens when you travel from Europe to Dubai or from China to US. So those kind of considerations were not here before and were not at all our concern, while today it becomes more and more critical and important. But then also the old regulatory part, if you look at standards like ISO. So ISO 13485, which is a standard for medical device manufacturers, still belongs to the traditional way of looking at companies as manufacturing sites, where you have in each physical location a manufacturing facility that would be quite autonomous, delivering and producing some goods. While today we have global organizations, we have global teams cross-located in different regions, and these virtual organizations, they map across different geographies. So even the process of manufacturing software as medical device or medical device software becomes more and more misaligned with the standards that traditionally come from the past, and that requires revision of the entire regulatory space in this industry.
Makes sense. Interesting. Didn't think it with that level of detail, but makes a lot of sense. And I think this is an important message for people who want to innovate in this space. These are the things, I would say, unknowns which someone needs to plan for as they start along this journey. Andre, apart from these challenges, right, like regulatory challenges, globalization, maybe if you can also shed some light on the quality aspect of software, because again, I come from India where I've seen innovation on the street, like people quickly put something together, all the way to really sophisticated organizations innovating, right? And there are differences in terms of speed, in terms of quality, in terms of checks and balances. So, how important is quality? And as an organization, how do you guys ensure quality?
Yes, when it comes to quality, especially in this industry, it has probably one of the highest attention, because at the end, if we look at medical device, be it hardware, be it software embedded on medical device or software alone, this is piece of information or logic tool that at the end can have even a direct impact on the human body. So the risk classification and quality aspects, it's everything here. So we have projects where if we look at the budget of the project, up to 70% of the entire budget goes actually to quality management, and only 30% is spent on developing software itself. So how we respond to it, we pay a great deal of attention to the standards that are out there. First of all, standards give us all the required frames and tools and attention to apply best practices in this domain to guarantee that software is properly defined, implemented, tested, and even monitored when it's deployed on the market, right? Second thing that we do is that we combine agile methodologies, right, and best practices from industry with standards and let's say more classical approach, actually to get a benefit of merging advances in software development with this industry. By the way, it's not easy. And I remember we have presented 10 years ago this hybrid approach that we called at that time Water Scrum Fall in a conference at Oxford in London, and it immediately caught attention. And then we realized that this is one of the biggest challenges of the quality aspect, right? Because it's very heavy in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of budget, because to do a change today is critical for business survival. We see how technology advanced faster and faster. We just talked about it a bit earlier. And then to be able to manage change fast while complying with quality needs and quality requirements, I think this is one of the most critical aspects in the industry, to be agile, fast, and innovative in time. And this is where I think we can provide most of the value for traditional players in this space by getting into this medical devices and software space, having all the baggage that we have from software development industry and knowing the regulatory part as well.
Very interesting. Water Scrum Fall. Love the terminology. Sounds awesome. So, Andrei, want to then get to another topic, which I'm fairly sure you guys also face a lot. So, doing this this is complex work. Overall, digital is in demand. So, at the heart of a lot of these challenges are the people behind it. And then right now, from most of the people I speak to, they just can't get enough people who have this degree of expertise, this degree of knowledge to move the agenda on digital transformation. So wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Is this something you also see as a challenge? How are you guys addressing the people challenges, expertise challenges?
Yes, indeed. Again, especially after pandemic, that enforced this remote working setup. I think not only in our industry, but in many other industries, especially service-oriented industries, we have changed the working paradigm forever, right? We were before global organizations and fairly virtual organizations, but now work from anywhere, while during pandemic became a constraint, now becomes more and more the new norm. So the biggest challenge today we have is to continue with this flexibility of working space while aligning with local regulations, right? Being regional regulations in matters related to labor force, like from countries, to allow from this work from home or work from anywhere setup, but especially in this industry, right? Because sometimes we work on the projects that require a certain secure environment. So imagine a team, a developer working on his or her PC with sensitive data, developing a system, analyzing lung images to help doctors to make better decisions. And today we have to ensure the same level of security in terms of infrastructure and also logical security from home as we used to have in our facilities in the office. I think this will become the biggest challenge. However, on a broader scale, we as Nagarro, we have already adopted a flexible working place. So we have declared at the company level that this will become new norm. So if project doesn't have specific constraints and if we do not contradict with any local regulations, we as Nagarro will continue work from anywhere. And what this brings to us, it brings actually a much better efficiency, sometimes even business advantage, because co-location from past as a physical term became more a co-location today in terms of geographical our co-location. So you have to be in the same time zone. And for us, it gives a greater flexibility and better options to bring our teams closer to our customers while staying widely geographically distributed. Of course, we do not want to go into the extreme. So physical interaction, personal interaction is a need and something that we will encourage. But it will be a fair balance with those two. So we will not go back to work in office entirely, and there will be a fairly good combination of those.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think
one more aspect just to add to that, I think it's not only about our own resources, Purav. So what we realized, especially in the last couple of years, and that's maybe more related to the technological advances of the industry, is that partnerships will become more and more important. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 to 4 years, we have increased dramatically network of our partners. Local partners in the geography or partners that specialize in certain areas or niche areas of the industry. So I think collaboration will be also a new source of getting access to talents, to specialized talents. So it won't be solved only through hiring and acquiring these talents internally in an organization. It will be solved through an ecosystem of partners, be it small, big partners that will cooperate more and more to solve global problems at a much more accelerated speed.
makes sense, yeah. Especially the way you described, because you guys are fairly global and that adds complexity. But I feel from what you said, it also generates an opportunity to get more talent and make them work seamlessly. So, Andrei, this is quite interesting. You shared how you guys are impacting innovation in the life sciences space. And I meet a lot of innovators on this forum, but you guys do it at scale. So the perspective is also quite unique and nuanced. A lot of our audience is healthcare innovators who are already doing something in this space or who aspire to do something in this space. From your journey and experience, what are some of the top 3 or 5 learnings that you would like to sum up to continue to do well in this space, to continue to progress the agenda on innovation?
I think innovation is a very broad term, right, Purav? So sometimes it's maybe also overloaded. And for us, as part of this industry, many things actually here with us for quite a long time already. So the way we look at innovation is anything that changes the way we do things today is an innovation, right? So sometimes getting technologies that were used for quite a while in other areas like video conferencing, remote access, just bringing that technology into a space where it was not used, it's already innovation, right? Even if we reuse old technology. So I think we as a team and as specialists in technology, we see innovation at least from 2 different perspectives. One is what the existing technology today can do within a problem statement. Again, telemedicine, teleconsultation, remote access, using wearables and sensors in purposes for healthcare, treatment, diagnosis. It's a huge innovation, even if we do not innovate the technology itself. The second area is also innovating technology. We have AI, machine learning that gets better and better, both from the hardware perspective, because we have access to never seen before amount of resources, speed, memory, and so on, but also advances in our experience, access to information, connectivity, and so on. So I think when we talk about innovation, there are many low-hanging fruits that we as software technologists, evangelists can bring very fast into an enterprise, into business. And then, of course, continue looking at technological advances, because this might be needed tomorrow or the day after tomorrow is another aspect. We have quite a number of cooperations where we partner with R&D departments, and we just evaluate the first part of this innovation story. And to me, this brings the fastest advantage. Again, this low-hanging fruit combined with the agility in itself, because innovation, it's not only about substance and content, but also how to do it, how fast you bring it to market, the way you do your software development, your product development, the way you agilize this, right? It's an innovation in itself. And here as well, we can be a partner that can guide our clients and business partners through this kind of journey. Especially, Purav, that again, in this industry, we see software becoming super disruptive, because we have examples where companies were producing, let's say, medical devices with fairly limited amount of software inside. So software was a kind of byproduct for them. And now, with all the advances, software becomes the main aspect of their service, and actually hardware turns to be a supporting part. So these companies, they still lack experience and maturity in what does it mean to develop software, especially in this highly regulated environment. So that's an innovation curve in itself. And then software that in the past had nothing to do with this regulatory aspect, now medical device software being introduced on the market. So we also face quite a number of systems that suddenly have to comply with medical device regulations. And that requires innovation of the production process as well.
Got it. That's quite well summarized, Andrei. So, Andrei, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And yeah, looking forward to observe and contribute to this interesting journey that I think will cover all of us, all the lives, in a very good sense of it. Thank you.
Quite well said, Andrei.
Bye-bye.